In a well-known experiment, Ivan Pavlov rang a bell before giving dogs food. After multiple trials, the dog would salivate merely at the sound of the bell. Pavlov had called that phenomenon a conditioned reflex. Today, we know that as classical conditioning. Now, before conditioning, we have the neutral stimulus, unconditioned stimulus, and the unconditioned response. In Pavlov's experiment, the neutral stimulus was the sound of the bell. The neutral stimulus causes a sensory response, such as being seen, heard, or smelled, but does not produce the reflex being tested. Next up, we have the unconditioned stimulus, which, in Pavlov's experiment, was the food. An unconditioned stimulus triggers or elicits the unconditioned response. The unconditioned response is an unlearned, innate, involuntary, physiological reflex that is elicited by the unconditioned stimulus. After several trials, the neutral stimulus will become the conditioned stimulus, as it has acquired the ability to elicit a response that was previously elicited by the unconditioned stimulus. The response elicited by the conditioned stimulus is called the conditioned response. There are also instances where a stimulus would elicit a positive or negative emotion, and this is called a conditioned emotional response. An example of this would be feeling happy when listening to a particular song after you've learned to associate it with someone special. Now let's add a few more examples to classical conditioning. Say, for example, you went to this birthday party and ate a lot of cake. Because you ate too much, you eventually threw up, and since then, you've associated cake with getting sick. In our example, cake is the neutral stimulus, as it doesn't elicit the unconditioned response, which was getting sick and throwing up. The fact that you ate too much is the unconditioned stimulus, as it produces the unconditioned response. After conditioning, the neutral stimulus, which was cake, becomes the conditioned stimulus, as you've learned to associate it with getting sick and throwing up, which was formerly your unconditioned response and is now your conditioned response. This is also known as taste aversion, where you associate a particular sensory cue with getting sick and thereafter avoiding the particular sensory cue in the future. Now, what if you learn to associate not only cake but also desserts that are similar to cake, such as cupcakes, to feelings of sickness? That would be what is known as generalization, which is the tendency for a stimulus that is similar to the original stimulus to elicit a response that is similar to the conditioned response. Now, in the long run, you start to make exceptions. You associate cake to feelings of sickness but not pie. Now, this is called discrimination, where an organism learns to make a particular response to some stimuli but not to others. But what if at one point you started eating cake again and didn't get sick? Thus, your aversion to cake eventually faded. This is what's called extinction, where the conditioned stimulus is repeatedly presented without the unconditioned stimulus. As a result, the conditioned stimulus, cake, tends to no longer elicit the conditioned response, which is feeling sick. But what if one day you ate a bit too much cake again and felt sick? This may lead to spontaneous recovery, where there is a tendency for the conditioned response to reappear after being extinguished. And that is basically classical conditioning. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching!